talking about the labels is stupid, okay? Talking about the how. And look, Mayor Mamdani dances around this question a little bit, and not because he doesn't know the answer, but he knows that the power of the answer to persuade, but also to make people paranoid is very real. How do you balance? Stephen A. Smith joins me now to discuss what I call this mega populist movement in reaction to MAGA that's going on. How do you see it, brother?
Well, I don't see it quite that way. I mean, I think about 70% of the, voters in New York City, should the eligible voters, showed up. I think like 1 in every 6 that registered Democrats showed up to vote. So that's not a referendum on things. You know, you're a popular individual like Mamdani, who's turning 35 years of age, real sly, real slick, very smart, intellectual, very eloquent when he speaks. We all get that part. But the other side to it is that the vast majority of folks that would be voting in a general election, whether it be that of a gubernatorial seat or the presidency or things like that, I don't think that that's something that you have to worry about. You're going to certainly need more support than that. I will say that, however, is that he does articulate himself very, very well, and he speaks to the issues, affordability, and the working class. He sends the message that they've been forgotten, and people are buying it hook, line, and sinker. The reason why I find that so incredibly ironic is once upon a time, the Democratic Party identified itself with the working class like he's proclaiming they are now, when in fact, that's not really the people that are voting for him. If anything, it's been in reverse, where you've got a whole bunch of conservatives that seem to have appealed a little bit better to the working class in recent memory than even the Democratic Party itself, because it's been relatively fragmented between the progressive left and just the, the ordinary leftists that are out there. So I think it's a mess. It's a problem for the Democratic Party, but Mamdani is in a position to capitalize off of it better than most because he's in New York City. There's a lot of young voters, and obviously he's connected to people like AOC and Bernie Sanders, which does not hurt.
Right, but he's a beneficiary of it.
Yes,
I think the movement is much bigger than he. And of course, and I know you know this, but midterm elections, especially without the president being on the ballot like this, are going to be low.
Sure.
So, you're looking maybe this year with all the money they're pumping into it, you get a little bit closer, 40% or so, but, it's going to be a concentrated turnout. He's a beneficiary of it. What's interesting to me is the enthusiasm and how it plays when you counter it. Like I was just listening to Geraldo, right? And when you say, hey, listen, man, that's not going to happen. You're not going to get a free bus, man. Listen, you're not going to change this stuff. You sound beatable because people don't want to hear, sorry, Stephen A., it sucks, get used to it. They don't want to hear it.
They don't want to hear it.
And he's saying something different.
They don't want to hear it.
And that's what's winning these elections.
You were very astute, very sharp when you called out Geraldo Rivera for that, because, he came across as a bit like a curmudgeon, to be honest with you. Like somebody, the old guard, I want to hold on to that. It's just not going to happen. Well, damn it, that ain't the point. The point is, if you're saying it and it's effective enough before election, when they go to the polls to vote, they win the election because people like you thought the folks would never buy that, but that's exactly what they're buying. They certainly bought it against Andrew Cuomo. We all know that as a former 3-term governor in the state of New York, he knew what the hell he was doing. He knew what the hell he was talking about. And he was telling everybody, that's not going to work. That's not going to happen. But folks in New York City said, no, we're going to go this other side, because the establishment that's been in office all of these years, spanning decades now, has repeatedly disappointed the American voters, city to city to city, state to state to state. They've been hot garbage. They haven't been doing anything. And then when we get down to the bare bones of it all, like the dollars and cents, here's the reality. With $39 trillion in debt nationally, practically every state is in debt. That didn't happen through one administration. It didn't happen through 3 administrations. There's been a debt that's been accumulating, spanning decades, which means every politician's hands are dirty in terms of what has led to the state of affairs that exists nationwide. You've got young voters out there saying, listen, I don't want to inherit this mess. I'm going to have to no matter what. But somebody's telling me something different. I hear something different. I'm a vibe with that, because I don't know whether it's going to work or not. But I damn sure know what you're selling hasn't worked for us spanning decades. So why not try something new? Because we have absolutely nothing to lose. And the Republicans are in no position to refute that, no matter how hard they try, because one of the things that Donald Trump campaigned on back in 2015 was him saying, what do you got to lose? He wasn't just talking to the black community at that particular moment when he was addressing them about, voting GOP or Democrat. He was also talking to the American people. What do you have to lose? Because everybody that's been around has stunk up the joint, in a matter of speaking.
And now he's answered his own question. and he owns the status quo.
That's right.
And these college-educated people, they held his nose, those that voted for him the first time as it was, because they had this assumption that he had business savvy.
Well,
he doesn't have that assumption anymore. So this college-educated group is a very important demographic of voters. Go ahead,
I think
Stephen.
it's important to say this. It's not just that they're not falling for the okie doke. Now they're looking at him because they're seeing that he doesn't care nearly as much as they thought he would. See, when you've got all of this stuff going on, and I brought this up before on my YouTube show, and I'm going to bring it up again. You know, we can point to the TSA workers and how you didn't pay them for a month, you know, amounting to $2 billion. But somehow, some way, even though it's a part of the defense budget, you had $2 billion a day to pay for a war that wasn't supposed to be a war. We can bring up stuff like that. But when it shows that your personal worth has escalated above $4 billion since you've returned to office, but then you tried to put forth a slush fund of $1.8 billion that you were coming to the taxpayers to pay for the January 6th insurrectionists. Now you done started something, because most people will go like this, Chris, me, you, or anybody else. If we pocketed about $6 to $7 billion and there was a $2 billion bill that come in, all right, here you go, I got the money, I'll pay for it. No, he got the money and still tried to come to the taxpayers for more of their money, knowing what kind of debt they're in, knowing about inflation, knowing about affordability issues, knowing about our national debt. You're still trying to come to the American people that you campaigned with, basically telling them, I know what your problem is, I'm going to alleviate it, and you try to exacerbate it. Those kind of things end up counting against you. I think that's what the Republican Party has to deal with right now, the fact that there's a whole bunch of people he alienated. So now we got to look at the Democratic Party, fragmented. The extreme left against relatively centrist, or the common sense Democrat, as some people would call them, battling against one another. Who's going to reign supreme over the party to make sure you're not a fragmented group, because you're going to need to be together in order to knock off the next GOP person, unless Trump tries to get a third term or something like that. That's what you're going to have to do. You can't do it divided. You're going to have to do it together. Who are they going to get behind? That's going to be the million-dollar question.
Yes, it is the million-dollar question. I believe that we already know the answer. I think just like with MAGA, this populist movement within the Democratic Party, Hakeem Jeffries is either going to get on board with it or he's going to be gone.
He's in trouble.
Schumer is going to be gone. And I'll tell you the big swing issue for these guys that I didn't see. Now I do see it. When Trump sided with the AI tech bros and took them to China and took them to the G7, they represent the biggest threat to the American economy. They are the biggest national security issue also. And he made it clear they're going to win if he's in power. And the people do not want them to win, not just because they're rich, but because they are in control of something that is like electricity in terms of its impact on the rest of society.
That's an accurate thing that you just said, but it's relatively simpler than that. When it's advertised that there are now a couple of trillion-dollar companies, and it's advertised that a guy like Elon Musk is a trillionaire. Come on, man. When you have the kind of problems that we have in this country, and one person who, by the way, used to work under your administration, heading Doge, and he is now worth $1 trillion, you have clearly not looked out for the American people the way you swore you would, because in the American people's eyes, they would have been getting some of that money. They don't have a problem with capitalism. They understand there's going to be billionaires and stuff like that. But when you allow somebody to go out there and make $1 trillion when he was a part of your administration, plus you've slid billions your way, your cronies, your family, yourself, etc., and the American people are still suffering, oh, no. They're going to make you feel a pinch, too. It's coming. Make no mistake about it.
Change is coming. Stephen A., well said, well argued, and appreciated as always.
No doubt. Take it easy. Good to see you.
Take care, my friend. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.